Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the 9 p.m. English news edition. Here are the headlines. Departure of the President of the Republic to New York. Mohammed Ali Hamid gives the tone of the parliamentary return of the 1st October 2019. Massive mobilization of youth across the world. Hello and welcome again. The President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, left the country today, Saturday, for the United States, precisely New York City, where he will take part in the 74th Ordinary Meeting of the United Nations General Meeting. Several topics are on the agenda of this meeting, which usually brings together the largest numbers of heads of state and government from all over the world. The eradication of poverty, access to quality education, peace and security, and the issue of climate change are among the main topics to be discussed during this meeting. The Republic of Djibouti, which will be represented at this meeting at its high level, namely that of its first magistrate, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, is in line with all the themes of the agenda of the 74th United Nations General Assembly. Indeed, quality education is under the aegis of President Guelleh, an objective largely endorsed in Djibouti after the previous success of education for all. Peace and security are also an integral part of our country's identity repertoire, all the more so in the last 20 years when it has acquired in the East African region the status of spearhead of the global program to combat terrorism and extremism on all sides. Similarly, the fight against poverty and global warming, all the themes on the agenda of this United Nations General Assembly, are among the national priorities in Djibouti. Djibouti's determination to tackle the issues related to the latter two areas, namely the fight against poverty and global warming, is respectively perceptible through the fact that job creation is being redefined as an absolute priority here at home, and through the fact that our country intends to use exclusively clean energy by 2021. The President of the Republic's participation in the United Nations General Assembly will be marked by an important address on the platform of this event. As usual, on the margins of this meeting, he will also meet separately with several of its counterparts, head of states and government participating like him in the 44th session of the United Nations General Assembly. An important delegation including the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, and the Minister of Urban Planning, Environment and Tourism, Mr. Mohammed Abdulkader Musa Helm, is accompanying the President of the Republic in his participation in this United Nations meeting. Following his meeting with the foreign ambassadors accredited to Djibouti, the Ministers of Foreign Affairs and spokesman of the government, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, government granted as an interview in which he stated, and I quote, "We have long proposed Djibouti's candidacy for non-permanent membership in the United Nations Security Council, and we announced it earlier as appropriate. But at this meeting, it was the official announcement that Djibouti would compete for this position. Efforts are currently ongoing, Djibouti still being a candidate. As you know, there are 15 seats on the United Nations Security Council, 5 permanent and 10 non-permanent. Of these 10 seats, Djibouti shares 1 seat alternately with East and Southern Africa out of the 3 seats allocated to Africa. At the moment, it is therefore Djibouti and Kenya that are contributing to this position. The reason for our difference is for a different common option according to each person concepts. As to the reasons for filling this position, our conception is based on a regular alternation of continental representation on the United Nations Security Council, while for many African countries that have opted for Kenya, the mandate of the last country in office must be renewed almost automatically. From his point of view, Kenya has held this position twice, while Djibouti has held it once. It should be noted that Kenya remains the last country to hold this position in 1998, whereas Djibouti was elected earlier in 1993. From this point of view, it is clear that Djibouti is a logical candidate, even if Kenya maintains its candidature. And that is why we have invited all foreign diplomats accredited to Djibouti to explain to them the reason for Djiboutian candidacy for this position. This is part of our current diplomatic effort, and we are very confident about the outcome of this election. And now the Minister of Labour in charge of the reform of the administration, Ismail Ibrahim Roble, was received yesterday by the President of the Republic of Senegal, Macky Sall, at the Presidential Palace in Dakar. Djibouti's minister in his capacity as special envoy delivered a message from the President of the Republic of Djibouti, Ismail Omar Guelleh, to his counterpart and brother Macky Sall. It should be noted that the message delivered by the Djiboutian Minister of Labour concerned an official Djiboutian request to support our country's candidature for a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council for the period 2021 and 2022. During this important meeting, the President of Senegal and the Minister of Djibouti discussed at length the state of friendship and cooperation between the two borderland countries. The Djiboutian minister did not fail to convey the warm and fraternal greetings of the Djibouti head of state to his Senegalese counterpart, who in turn instructed the Djibouti minister to send reciprocal greetings from him. And in a speech to the Minister of Labour, Mr. Ismail Ibrahim Roble thanked the President of Senegal for his warm welcome and indicated that during this meeting held in the presence of the Ambassador of Djibouti to Senegal, he had presented a message from His Excellency President Ismail Omar Guelleh to his Senegalese counterpart, who supported the Republic of Djibouti's candidature for the position of its representative member of the United Nations Security Council for 2021 and 2022, which is scheduled to hold election in June in New York. He explained that this is part of the strengthening of fraternal cooperation and friendship between the two countries. Under the chairmanship of Mohamed Ali Hamad, the members of the National Assembly's Bureau held a meeting this weekend to highlight the institution priorities for the parliamentary term schedules to begin on October 1st, 2019. During this meeting, the President insisted on the implementation of the planned objectives and their timely execution. These are, among other, and as priority, the organization of workshops as part of the National Assembly's capacity building projects to be carried out in partnership with the European Union and the Inter-Parliamentary Union. Welcoming the parliamentary delegation members of the Djibouti-French Friendship Group, the preparation of the opening day of the parliaments this 1st October 2019, as well as the meetings related to the holding of the budget session, the making of the necessary arrangement for the upcoming organization of parliamentary caravans in the interior region. Finally, the members of the Bureau expressed their satisfaction with the timely submission by the Minister of Budget to Finance bill on the final rules of procedure for the state budget for the 2018 financial year and the draft finance law on the amending state budget for the 2019 financial year. And the Secretary of State for Youth and Sport offers a dinner for Djibouti's national team Sharks at the Kempinski Hotel Palace. Last night, Kempinski Hotel hosted a dinner hosted by the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, Mr. Hassan Mohamed Kamil, for the players and technicians who qualified for the group phase of the Qatar 2022 World Cup. This reception was attended by many personalities, including the Minister of Health, Mr. Mohamed Warsama Dirie, the Commissioner for Planning and Statistics, Mr. Ammar Said, as well as several guests. History rightly bears witness to the importance of sports, and in particular football, as a factor of social cohesion, since it contributes to the creation of a national narrative. As an historian, Fabien Archibald pointed out, sport occupies a prominent place in the process of building national identities, and the sporting spectacle, which is characterized by flows of images, feeds highly stable system of representation. In other words, sporting achievement constitutes a historical corpus from which the national community comes to draw. Therefore, in a context of high tension, football can play a link between individuals, but also between men and their nations. In a brief intervention, the Secretary of State for Youth and Sport first congratulated the national team, its technical staff, and especially coach Julian Mitty, who was able to reinvigorate and believed in the Sharks' pride, Continuing his speech, Hassan Mohammed Kamel conveyed a message of congratulation from the President of the Republic and all members of his government to the national team and his full support for the development of football. And now, as part of the qualification of the African Cup 2021 in Cameroon, Djibouti's national team flies last night to Doha, capital of Qatar, for a 10-day blocked internship. This internship comes at a time when Red Sea Sharks have secured their qualification in the second phase of the Qatar 2022 World Cup poll on the African continent. Indeed, in this period of training, which will last 10 days, the national team will play a friendly match against Qatari teams to maintain the glorious football performance demonstrated during the qualification of the World Cup 2022. In a speech, the Vice President of the Djibouti's Federation stressed the importance of this internship for Red Sea Sharks. The second meeting of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development IGAD Working Group on the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden was held in Djibouti from 15 to 18 September 2019. The working group, composed of 3 candidates nominated from each member state, was established pursuant to the decision of the 46th session of the IGAD Council of Ministers held on 27 February 19. The task force reiterated the need to strengthen cooperation to exploit opportunities and mitigate problems in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. In particular, they stressed the need of cooperation, in particular to combat illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing, pollution and dumping of toxic waste, violent extremism, piracy and irregular migration, and freedom of maritime navigation in the waters of the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. The meeting also opened the discussion on the draft IGAD Regional Action Plan, which, once finalized, will be submitted to the IGAD legislative bodies of consideration. The proposed action plan will establish a roadmap for the promotion of collective action to protect the region's interest in both maritime areas. Finally, the task force decided to convene its third and fourth meeting in Khartoum, Sudan, and Mogadishu, Somalia, at dates to be mutually agreed. And this was the first step. The staff of the Center for Leadership and Entrepreneurship set up a stand at the Central Bank of the CAC Bank to explain and give information on the incubation program, and in particular, the application file. This local meeting, where the staff of the center distributed flyers and provided explanation to all those who want to start business projects. It should be recalled that the main objective of the startup incubator is to be able to effectively support young business project leaders in order to maximize their chances of development. The project manager explained in details the objective of this day. And today, Saturday, September 19, the Tajura Football League organized a football match between the U10 and U20 selection team at the artificial pitch. This participation was attended by 2 personalities, none other than the prefect of Tajura, Hassan Dabali, and the president of the regional council, Omar Hussein. The president of the Football League, Said Kamil, is proud of the work accomplished, which is the policy outlined by the president of the Football Federation of Djibouti, Sulaiman Hassan Wabiri, and thanked the 2 officials, prefect of Tajura and president of the regional council of Tajura, for attending this beautiful celebration rich in performance. The Djibouti Office's World Food Program launched a 5-day consultation on the new seasonal livelihood programming technique at the regional level, particularly in the OBOC office. The planning tool, which brings together locals' needs and experiences, aims to improve the identification of needs, coordination, planning, and execution of programs, and multi-sectoral intervention in order to strengthen or develop government plans. The Psyche aims to design and harmonize flexible and long-term operational plan for all stakeholders and provide the basis of programming resilience, combining humanitarian and development intervention. And moving now on the world news, Ebola, the health authorities of the Democratic Republic of Congo announced on Saturday that they were considering introducing a second vaccine against the Ebola virus. The new vaccine was manufactured by Johnson & Johnson to fight the second largest virus outbreak in history. The team overseeing the response in Congo to Ebola did not specify exactly when the G&G vaccine will be introduced. It will complement another vaccine manufactured by Merck, which has been administered to more than 2,025 people since August 2018. The G&G vaccine has been held a source of controversy among the Congolese health officials. The former Minister of Health, who had been deprived of any control over the response to the Ebola virus in July, opposed its use, saying that its effectiveness had not been proved. But in a statement, the current Ebola team said that the vaccine was safe and already being tested in neighboring Uganda and West African country. It is a vaccine that other countries are already using. Why can't we use it in Congo to protect our population? The statement said. The statement indicated that the health officials intended to offer G&G vaccine first to Congolese traders entering Rwanda and then to residents of the province adjacent to the epicenter of the epidemic, to create a corridor of imminent people. The G&G vaccine requires 2 injections 8 weeks apart, unlike the Merck's vaccine, which required only 1 injection. And now it is a historical and global wave of climate protest. Hundreds of thousands of students went on strike on Friday to walk the streets of London, Berlin, Paris, and other major cities. What you do matters was one of the slogans sent by these young people to political and economic decision makers 2 days before the climate change summit in New York. In Warsaw, Poland, young people denounced the inaction and casualness of their government. This year, more than 2 million hectares of land have been affected by drought. The young woman told the demonstrators, "We know from scientific sources that it's farmers and families with children who will be hardest hit by this climate crisis. Change begins with us," explained others. In the procession, we can face the policies and show them that young people don't want climate change and that we are angry. Even if the world were to limit global warming to 2 Celsius above pre-industrial levels, rising sea levels could overwhelm the homes of 280 million people, according to a draft report by UN climate experts. And moving now to the US military reinforcement in the Gulf in response to the attacks in Saudi Arabia. The United States will send military reinforcement to the Persian Gulf. This decision was taken a week after the attacks on the oil installation in Saudi Arabia, attacks that Washington blames Iran for. These military reinforcements were requested by Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, allies of the Americans in the region. "This is a first step we are taking in response to these attacks," said Pentagon leader Mark Esper. The objective is also to ensure the free movement of goods in the Gulf. And thirdly, it is a question of protecting the rules of international law and trying to convince the Iranians to return to the diplomatic field. In addition to this military deployment, the United States has decided to impose new sanctions against the Iranian central bank. Washington says it wants to dry up any Iranian funding to so-called terrorist groups. Iran, for its part, continues to deny that it carried out last weekend's attacks. And moving now on Spain, mobilization against domestic violence. The square of the Puerta del Sol in Madrid black with people. Thousands of demonstrators, most of them women, have gathered in the Spanish capital and in dozens of other Spanish cities to denounce violence against women and demand more measures to combat it. "I think everyone should be there so that we can have gender equality between men and women," she said. "This is our fight for the future. Everyone should be here." These demonstrations follow several high-profile rape cases and an increase in the number of women who have died as a result of being beaten by their partners or ex-partners. However, the country is often presented as an example in the fight against domestic violence, with a pioneering legislative arsenal in Europe. Adopted in 2004, it offers free legal assistance and specialized courts of victims. And this is it for this news. Thank you for watching us and have a wonderful afternoon.